Now, Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene has appealed to South Africans not to panic in the midst of troubling economic times. He says government has been working on structural reforms to turn the economy around. The minister says these include reprioritisation of funds to focus on areas that would have quick rewards. Government is also looking at visa regulations to attract scarce skills and to also boost tourism, as well as deal with policy uncertainty in the mining sector especially. The economy entered a recession in the first half of the year, raising a threat of a larger budget deficit and further sovereign credit rating downgrades. There is also a risk that SARS will not meet its revenue collection targets, adding to the slew of difficulties the economy is facing. To take this further, I'm joined in studio by Ian Cruickshanks. He's the chief economist at the South African Institute of Race Relations. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. President Cyril Ramaphosa and Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene have both said people shouldn't panic about the economy, there's a plan. Should we trust that?
Well, it's always too soon to panic, because panic leads to sort of unwanted decisions being taken. And I think, but we have to, it has to be admitted by the President and whoever else that the economy is in dire circumstances. We are getting poorer as a nation on a per-person basis, and that's been going on now for nearly 5 years. That doesn't inspire confidence. And until we can see some hard data that says this is confidence inspiring, foreigners are coming in investing. Instead, they're disinvesting at a furious rate. We haven't seen that. So I'd say very cautious is the watchword now.
We've been getting responses from the different political parties. The ANC also saying how we can get out of this difficult economic times is by using a stimulus package. What do you think of that idea?
First question is, I'll answer your question with a question that is, to stimulate, we need a cash inflow. Where is it going to come from? We just heard a terrifying announcement this morning from SARS saying they're expected to under-recover a huge percentage, 40% of outstanding debt which is owed to them. They've got massive targets for the current year which are probably unlikely to be attained because of the downtrodden effect of the economy. So it's going to be very difficult to make progress. And so I would like to say, as far as foreigners are concerned, they are taking money out rather than bringing money in. Where will the stimulus be funded?
Okay, the DA is saying they would like to introduce a fiscal austerity package to contain current spending and stabilize national debt at 50% of GDP and commit to funding any further revenue shortfalls by cutting wasteful expenditure rather, not new taxes. What do you think of that idea?
Well, the first thing when it comes to wasteful expenditure, the public service is too large. There are too many employed doing not sufficient that we can see from the results that they show. And I think this is part of the problem. We have reached, as a government, a very, very low level of efficiency. We don't have the capacity to utilize the funds that we do have, and we're not doing that at all well. So I think that, the government should look inwards first before it looks outwards.
Okay, how are we looking in terms of our sovereign credit ratings with our current economic situation, especially with a view to Moody's?
Yes.
And what do you think is going to happen there?
It's on a very fine balance, I must say. We've got to remember that Moody's said some time ago that if the country fell into recession, that would result almost immediately in a downgrade. Well, we're in a recession, and we haven't been downgraded yet. But Moody's are due to make some sort of announcement in the next month or so, or next 2 months, and perhaps we'll see that then. I think we will be very fortunate if we see any commitment to any improvement in the grading. I think the chances are that it stays the same, if we're very lucky, or possibly that there is a downgrade. And the problem then is we'll find it even harder to access foreign capital, and the cost of that will be even higher. So it is a very difficult decision that Moody's have to make. We hope they make it in our favour, but the best we can hope is an unchanged one.
How do you then suggest getting out of not only the recession that we're in now, but South Africa getting out of this racially skewed economy that we have, with a large majority of the people uneducated, unable to access real economic growth and change in a setup like this?
You say racially skewed. Yes, that is so, because the poorest people are the ones who've had the least education, and they are mostly of one group. primarily. But I think that what we've got to say is, what do we do about it? We've got to impress on the minds of the majority of the people. It's better to be a bricklayer or a carpenter. I've got nothing against them. They're fine occupations. Than to aspire to be a doctor or a lawyer, which they're not going to attain because of the slackness of their education. I think what we should do is concentrate on saying, let us take those school leavers who are clearly not going to do very well and say, become a carpenter, become a bricklayer. You know, if you can lay a row of bricks, you're going to go to your family and say, I can put another room on this house. Your neighbor will see that and say, can you do one for me too? And once that happens, the builder will want somebody to push the wheelbarrow, somebody to mix the sand and cement. Now we've got 3 people employed. Start at grassroots level. I think we have a chance of making progress if we take that attitude.
Would that attitude not then lead to almost a repetition of the patterns that we see now, where people aren't making that leap from, perhaps lower paying jobs to those doctors and lawyers' jobs that you also mentioned?
Better to have a job and be self-sustaining, to have the dignity of looking after one's own family, to be able to provide a home for them, to be able to feed them properly. Make a start. It's easier to make a start at a broad grassroots level than to say how many doctors and lawyers could we actually produce. Very few if we look at university results.
Ian Cruickshanks, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Now it's day 2 of the ITU Telecom World Conference underway in Durban.